Hello again. We will start the second round of the presentations with Bogdan Ciocodeica. He is an architect and designer and graduated in 2011 from the University of Architecture and Urban Planning Iolmincu in Bucharest. After working on large-scale architectural projects in 2015, he started his own practice, focusing quite on the opposite of the latter, namely on small and medium-scale residential and public interior design projects, and also furniture design. Following this route, the studio approach is very personal and intimate and puts the end user of the space in the center of the design, thus stylistically all the projects being extremely diverse. His work has widely published by numerous international architectural platforms and publications. Bogdan Ciocodeica is the winner of multiple awards and nominations at the Bucharest Architecture Annual, Beta and Big C Architecture Festival. Thank you for being with us, Bogdan.
Hi, thank you for being here. So when Beta first approached me to be part of this biennial, I thought very hard about what I wanted to tell you about, and I decided to do an exercise in honesty. And what that means is basically the way that I relate to the profession and the way that my relation with the profession has changed through the years. And of course, for that, I have to give you some background to better understand this process I went through. So I studied architecture. I started working in various architecture studios in my first year of university. I've done that for 10 years. And I was very unhappy with what I was doing. I didn't connect or relate with the profession, and I started questioning maybe the choice of career that I made. And that's because, first of all, I was working on really large-scale projects, thousands and thousands of square meters, really technical aspects. And I was dealing with the bureaucracy of the profession, and of course, the fact that I'm a really impatient personality didn't help, because, as we know, architecture takes a lot of time to happen. It takes years, so I didn't see immediate results, and I needed that. It was important for me. So after 10 years working in architecture, I switched to interior design, and then I discovered that this is what I like and this is what I want to do. It fits me very well and I love it. So in this exercise of honesty, I'm going to talk about 3 periods of my professional life and the way I was relating to it and to the clients and to the projects. So basically in 2015 I started my own practice and started doing exclusively interior design. But it was until 2017 when the first big project, important project appeared. So this is the forget about the rest, the architect knows best phase. Because I think university in general, architecture school, teaches us to be a bit smug, even if you're not personally a smug person, which I'm not, but somehow architecture school teaches you to feel a bit smug and to have the impression that you have the answers. And when you overlap on this type of attitude, young age, then there's a recipe for disaster. So I'm going to talk about the first big project that was widely published and won awards, architectural awards, and had really good press. It's Cane World Food restaurant. It was a restaurant in Bucharest with a, let's say, French atmosphere infused with a lot of greenery and a lot of natural elements. I'm not going to talk specifically about the project because, of course, you can see the project on the website and you can check it there. So I would like to tell you the story behind the project and the process and all the gossip and the dirt behind the project. I saw it as my first big break, and I was very sure of myself and I was very sure of the recipe and what I wanted to do with this project and what I wanted to convey. But then again, also the client knew everything. So inevitably we clashed. So we were two guys very convinced of ourselves, knowing exactly what we want and having all the right answers. So it was a very difficult project. It took almost a year, even if it's an interior design, and somehow interior design projects tend to move at a faster pace. It was a project that now I look back and I hold it dear, but at the moment I couldn't wait for it to be done. Because even though it had really good press and it won awards, it left me really tired and really drained and didn't have any professional satisfaction whatsoever. Now looking back, I can reclaim the satisfaction and I can enjoy the project, but at that point was really difficult for me to enjoy it and to fully appreciate the whole experience, just because it was this tension and this clash that consumed both me and the client. After this project, a couple of friends who loved what I was doing approached me to do their apartment. So there are this young couple, art collectors, both working in the in creative fields. We were friends, so I thought it's going to be the perfect project. We share the same values. It's going to be amazing. We're going to get along, and everybody's going to be happy. Nothing further from the truth. This time we had differences and we clashed, maybe for different reasons, but it still happened because now looking back, I feel it wasn't, we were not communicating. So we were both parties were shouting their needs, their complaints, their concerns, but not towards one another, but somewhere out there. So we're not getting to each other, we're not communicating, and again, a project that I hold very dear and that now I can really enjoy and appreciate and look back with fondness. But at the moment, at the time it was being built, it was very difficult for me. It was with screams and phone calls and declarations, I don't want to talk with you anymore, let's stop it now. After this, because of course, as I told you, we were friends before starting this project. We took like a break for 6 months. We let things cool off. We became friends again. And they approached me because they have a business, they have a coffee shop. So they have like this really visible brand, and their first coffee shop was built in a newly renovated space, and it had basically no identity. So their online presence and their online identity was very powerful, but their first location was fairly bland because it was a given space. So for their second location, after 6 months, we became friends again. They said, okay, let's try and make another project together and see if the second time around it's better. So that's how we started doing the Beans and Dots coffee. Again, it was a highly published and appreciated project that won prizes. And somehow things started to change at this project. Just because we had the previous experience and we managed to know each other, not just as friends, but as having a professional relationship, we started to learn to communicate with one another. So I wouldn't say it was the perfect project, but it was way better than the first experience that we had. And I think it was, for me, I was entering in a different stage, and I was starting to relate to the profession and to clients in a different manner. After this project, somehow I entered a new phase. It was the phase which I call the time is now, because I was asked to do a series of projects where I had a client, but I didn't have a client. So the client gave me total freedom, and I said, it's perfect. Hold my beer. Let me show what I can do. But somehow I was wrong again, because I find it was really difficult for me to not have a dialogue partner. So the client, the non-client client is Lunette, which is a eyewear brand. And first they started their business online, and then they decided to try to move in the physical space. In the beginning, they did a pop-up shop and an event, and I designed the pop-up for the event just to test the waters and to see how things and the public would react. So this was easy because it was like an installation. It wasn't too complicated, so we didn't need to have like a thorough back and forth discussion. But after that, the pop-up was a real success, and of course, we shared the same aesthetical values, and they said, okay, I think we're ready now to move forward into a more permanent space. Let's do our first store. So we did their first store. Again, it was very challenging for me. It's a project that I really like. Even now, after 2 years, I find it that it's what's supposed to be. But I struggled a lot back and forth because I lacked the dialogue and someone who would challenge me and question some of the decisions. So I had to do these things for my own. I had to question myself. I had to think if that's really the right decision or not. And I think it was very different than having a very opinionated client that knew what the answer was, but in some way it was as hard as. After doing the first, the pilot project, the first store, the next year they extended the business, so they wanted a second shop, and basically the model of our collaboration was always the same. I just proposed, and I was questioning myself and doing and redoing proposals until I thought I've reached the right conclusion. So this is the second store, and what I did here was trying to have like this fil rouge, that's continuity between the two stores, but at the same time having very different vibes and moods. So we kept, in the first store, we had those silver curtains. We kept the idea of the silver vertical surfaces and then the colored horizontal surfaces, somehow giving creating a visual and merchandising identity for the brand. So here you can see same elements used very differently, creating different moods, but at the same time still being able to perceive that it's about the same brand. After this came the third period that I am now in, which is go on, I'm listening. So I started taking things less personally, because I was always feeling that if a client has something to disapprove in a project, he was disapproving of me, which was totally wrong. It had nothing to do with me, it had to do with the project. So I started taking, not taking things personally and being more detached on a personal level of the project, being as involved and as hands-on in the project as I was before, but not taking it personally. So doing this, I discovered that the relationship with the client is always way better, and you start a dialogue, you start a communication, and from that always amazing things can happen. So this is a project for a fashion store, a boutique. The first proposal was completely different, because they were the type of client that had the idea of what they would like in terms of necessities and maybe a general mood, but they had no idea exactly what had to be done. So I did a first proposal, which was basically the draft that we worked on for them to really understand and realize what they needed. So this is what the second proposal looked, and this is what we came up together after communicating and talking for, I think, half a year back and forth, trying to integrate their needs and to create the exact atmosphere that they were looking for. And the last project I want to talk about today, I want to share with you today, is our latest project, which is a furniture showroom. This is almost, I would say, a passion project. It's a project that ironically took 3 years. So I started doing interior design to have more immediate results and to enjoy the fruit of my work sooner than you would normally in architecture. And I ended up doing a project that took 3 years because, of course, it was also the renovation part of the house and the new intervention on the house. But I don't regret it, and I feel it. I find it fully fulfilling. It was a project with a very special client. Again, this time the client was very afraid of certain decisions, and it was always back and forth, trying to find the best answers for the space. But it was with an amazing client that understood the values of design and understood the values of an architect's work, and who was very supportive every step of the way. So it's a project that I'm really proud of, and I think it's a step towards a better relationship for me with a profession, and it's a stepping stone in building and learning how to build a relationship with a client, a healthy relationship with the client, and what I can tell you is that it went so well that we're working already on the second project together, and we're very enthusiastic and can't wait to do it. And this time around, we didn't need a break, a 6-month break, to let things cool down. So, thank you.
Thank you a lot, Bogdan. Do you have any questions or curiosity about his work?
Yeah, thanks. Hi. Thank you very much. I really appreciate the honesty and this kind of like struggle that I think we all have, that we need somebody to ping pong with. And when you choose to work alone, as we were discussing earlier with Mirosh, it's like you're kind of like, oh God, is this right? Is this not? Do you still struggle with this now? Do you still work alone only? Do you have somebody to ping pong with?
No, I don't work alone. I have a few colleagues, but of course we share the same values and we share the same principles and aesthetics. So it is relevant, the ping pong and the discussion with them up at a certain point. But then you need like an exterior entity, which usually is the client, to come and question certain decisions and to make you think or rethink certain decisions that you make. So yeah, we ping pong inside our office, but I don't think it's enough. It's always good to have like someone from the outside to do that with.
So if the client would still give you like a free hand to go on with the project, would you still feel as anxious as you did when they did the first time, these ones?
Yeah, I think you're always anxious. If you're not anxious about a project, I think then you are maybe in your comfort zone and you are not evolving. So if you are fully ready and prepared for a project, then maybe you shouldn't do the project because it means that you already did it. So you have to be able to feel a bit anxious about the next project, because when you're growing, you have these fears. But yeah, of course, to answer your question, I would still feel anxious. I would for sure say yes to a project with a client that gives you total liberty, but I think it's the type of project that it's harder to do and consumes you more on the inside creatively, just because you don't have the ping pong, the back and forth.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Stay on.
Yeah, sure.
Well, you started with explaining, talking about the kind of misplaced confidence that the architecture school gave you, and then explained about sort of unlearning certain things and learning new skills. So now, looking back at architecture education, what would you say are the things that should be taught at architecture schools that are very necessary in practice?
First of all, I think the issue with the architecture school, I'm of course speaking from my experience and speaking about the architecture school in Romania. I think that the issue is that there's this disparity between what you learn in school and what actual architecture means in day-to-day life. So I think that there's a really big gap there, and I think it's something that, of course, architecture schools and the teachers might want to look into that and try to reduce that gap. So that's a thing. For me, I could say I was lucky, because I started working in an architecture office when I was in my first year of university. So my drawing teacher told me, go try to work in an architecture office. You don't know anything, just make coffee for them, but be in an architect's environment and try to learn from them and try to see what real life and real architecture is about. So I think that's the most important thing architecture schools should try to solve. The gap between what they teach you in school and what the real profession is like.
And now can you already predict what your next phase is going to be?
I can tell you, give you a small insight or preview on what I'm working on now. So somehow I felt the need to go from, as I said, from thousands and thousands of square meters and technical projects towards more scenographical projects and small scale interiors. And now I'm zooming in further. So I'm working on a furniture collection. I was commissioned by a gallery in Paris to do a limited series collectible furniture collections. So in beginning of next year, I'll come with more details and you'll see.
Nice, congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.